All right. Welcome to the podcast. How's it going?
It's going good. I'm out here in Chicago. I just got out of a lecture.
Hmm.
Just
What
hanging
was
out, excited to be here.
what was the lecture on?
Actually, this was some elevator pitches for like the senior design projects that are going on here. So I was just listening to these elevator pitches, and I'll have mine on Monday.
Cool.
Taking notes.
Yeah, those are important. I think often. Well, before we get into it, how do you usually describe yourself when people ask you what you do and who are you?
It
Just so
really
people
depends
know.
on who asks me what I do, but I describe myself as a student, but I won't be after this semester. I'll be graduating. But I usually describe myself as a performing artist. I travel for my art. I'm really invested into flow arts and teaching and instructing belly dance and such. So, as a creative performing artist, vocalist, recording artist, and pending engineer, computer engineer.
Right. So you're studying computer science and you do fire dancing. You're also into mycology and all sorts of stuff. So I feel like you're kind of a similar combination to me, where it's like half creative, half technical.
Yes, definitely, most definitely. And studying computer engineering, not computer science. Very similar though.
What's the difference between computer science and computer engineering?
Computer science is more like programming based, a lot of like front end, back end, and computer engineering is more tailored towards like hardware, like programming for hardware. So we learn different programming languages, but a lot of it is like aligned. So I do learn a lot of what the CS people learn, and they'll learn if a lot, if not more, programming than us. Just more software engineering based for comp sci.
And so what kind of languages do you work with that differ from the comp sci people?
Primarily like assembly and like SQL and
You're
that
writing
type of.
assembly?
Yeah,
That's fucked. Assembly is so
it's
fucked.
fucked. It's actually not that bad because a lot of like what we do is like translating from C or C++ to assembly. So a lot of it's just like we write in C and then we translate it, which is a lot easier, but still, yeah, assembly is fucked.
Which is kind of how C works anyway, right? Like you write something in C++, you compile it, and then that compiler just shoots it down to assembly language, right?
Yeah.
For anyone listening who's not super coding savvy, how would you describe assembly?
It's essentially used to like program embedded systems or like microcontrollers. So like teaching like hardware like what to do like using digital logic.
Right. So I was watching a video on the history of computer engineering. Well, it was just really the history of computers, I guess, like a little while ago.
Uh-huh.
And apparently the way it started was, I guess Alan Turing figured out that like you could make these tiny little computers, and he made this tiny little computer that somehow like cracked the Enigma code and won World War II for the British, but then they put him in jail because he was too gay. And then it was fucked up. Like he did so much crazy shit for computer science, but then he just got like put in jail for being gay, and I believe they chemically castrated him, which is really sad.
What?
Yeah, it
See,
was
these
fucked
are the
up.
things we don't learn about.
Yeah, you should look into Alan Turing, and still people talk about him today, like with the Turing test or whatever, especially with AI stuff, where people say if you can talk to a computer and that computer can convince you that it's a human on the other end of it, then it passes the Turing test or whatever. And there's like a bunch of arguments against why this test is flawed and whatnot. But yeah, so he made this thing, and then it got to binary, where people are just like setting ones and zeros on like literal dials on a thing to make a computer do something. And then I think assembly was actually created by some lady. I can't remember her name, but for anyone listening, assembly is basically like a super low level language that talks to your processor directly, versus higher level languages like C++ that go into a compiler and then get translated into assembly or even higher level languages like Python, which go into an interpreter, which goes into a compiler, I think. And then, yeah, it's confusing shit.
Yeah, it is really confusing for anyone that hasn't like dealt with it or seen it. It's definitely used for like mostly like engineering within computers.
Right. So you're mostly writing programs like that essentially are operating systems for microcontrollers.
Yes, yes, a lot of like practice with that, and also learning a lot of like electrical engineering concepts, like a lot of like circuits and stuff like that.
Nice. Were you always split between like artistic and technical worlds, or what got you into computer science, and which did you get into first?
Yeah, I actually, before I dropped out of college the first time, I was studying engineering physics. I thought I wanted to be a physicist. I was in high school and, you know, I was always like a creative, like first and foremost, but I had like read some books about like physics and the laws of physics, and it really interested me. And I also always felt like math and engineering, like, is as much as people separate it from like creativity, it is actually a very creative like field to be in. And so I feel like in that way I get to like exercise like my creative mindset and like how I would like to like optimize systems and whatnot. So I was planning to be a physicist, and I was studying physics for a year, and this was like during COVID, and everything was so theoretical. I like after the first semester I lost like so much interest because I'm like, why are we learning all of this like theoretical stuff? And even when I would ask the professors and be like, what do we use this for, they would be like, actually we don't use this in real life applications, we're just learning this so that you understand the concept. So that kind of lost me. And then I dropped out during COVID, and that's kind of when all this like AI like products were coming out, and people were like integrating AI into their everyday life. And I thought to myself like, wow, this seems really important for me to learn, and also just to like keep up with technology and be able to understand it, to be able to like make my life and my family's life more like efficient. And so I just had this like general interest towards like AI, and I thought I wanted to study like computer science, like be a coder so I could like work from home or like program from home. But the program was full. So I actually just happened to end up in computer engineering, which I'm actually really happy about because I get to use my hands, but I also get to program. So just guess being in the right time and place, I just kind of ended up in computer engineering, having all like the general education for it and whatnot. My goal was to like finish school as soon as possible. So I thought, I was like, okay, if I just switch to business or something, I'll get out of here. But as soon as I transferred to a school in Chicago, they were like, all of your credits are actually for like science, math, and engineering. So if you were to switch, it would actually take you a lot longer to finish. So I was like, all right, like, you know, I know the basics, I can do it. So I started up again, like in 2022, and this will be my last year.
Mm. What were the physics things that you were learning that you felt were just too theoretical and not practical?
It was actually quantum mechanics. Like we were learning like these, I can't remember exactly what it was, just like very specific matrices and theories that like weren't applicable to like real life, I guess. I think it was just like an introduction course, and I was just completely like not having it. Like, I don't think I got deep enough to understand why we were learning it. I was just like, fuck this, and I dropped out.
Fair. Did you ever learn about like the busy beaver numbers and stuff like that?
I don't think so.
That shit
Busy
is like,
beaver numbers?
yeah, so like there's when you get into like number theory or set theory, which I mean, I'd never studied physics. I didn't even get past math in high school. Like I dropped out of math when I was like in year 9 or something, which I guess is the equivalent to being like 14 or 15 here. So I'm not good at math at all, but I've watched a lot of YouTube videos on just like set theory and number theory, where you have like different amounts of infinities and all this kind of shit. And yeah.
Yeah, that was actually one of the classes I was taking when I dropped out. It was like applied linear algebra, and it was just like all this conceptual like numbers and these sets and subsets, and you having to like define a domain from like negative infinity to infinity. And I was just like, why are we doing this?
Right. And then you start learning about Hilbert's hotel, where if you had a hotel that had infinite number of rooms and you could put every single person in one of those rooms, but give them a contract that says, if we get a new person to come into this hotel, all of you have to move up one room, so room 1 becomes available for the new client or the new customer who comes in wanting a room. And he was like, yeah, so you could create this like imaginary hotel where you have all these people, and then if somebody came, we could just tell everyone in the hotel to move up a room. So the person in room 1 goes up to room 2, the person in room 2 goes up to room 3, and then there's another room 1, where we could put the new person, and we could just infinitely keep doing this, and therefore infinity something. Makes no
Yeah, it's like, what does this solve? What is this algorithm for? Like,
yeah, I don't know the implications of that kind of stuff, but it is interesting. But yeah, if you want to be doing something that is, more relevant to real life or something, then I think, yeah, computer engineering is probably better. So
yeah.
Have you built any operating systems yet?
No, I wouldn't say I've built any operating systems yet. No. I still am very like novice, still just trying to get well rounded and everything to figure out kind of what I want to like tune in on.
Right.
I've worked with operating systems and like working within terminals and whatnot, but I haven't actually like built one.
Fair. What's like your favorite thing that you do? Is it performing and dancing, or do you prefer the computer engineering stuff? Or you're also doing like mycology stuff too, right? Like, what would you say is your main focus out of all of those things?
Yeah, I would say like I love performing. Like it takes my mind off of everything and it helps me become very present. It's kind of like a balance. Like I kind of need both. Like I kind of need like the engineering to keep me like, studying and keep me educated and keep me like looking into like what else or like how else I can like help the world. And then I have like the performing side of me where it's like I need that to like keep me present and help me connect with my community and just be social and actually like go out instead of just like being a nerd on my computer like all day.
Yeah, I feel that. It's good to balance it out. Yeah, I think like too many of my hobbies are all on the computer. So it's either I'm like making music or I'm fucking around with code or I'm doing something like that. And yeah, I probably should get more like flowy hobbies that exist outside of this room.
But that's why you go on tour or like do shows in person,
True. Yeah, I suppose so. What do you think of vibe coding? Have you messed around with that at all? Like using things like Cursor or Windsurf or JetBrains or anything like that, or Claude
No,
Code?
I actually haven't yet. I've heard of it though.
It's pretty impressive. I was using this one called AMP Code a few days ago to build some stuff, and it's kind of wild that you can just tell it in natural language, like, hey, make me this thing that reads files from this folder and performs these things and whatever, and it just does it. It's fucking wild.
Yeah, I just feel like the engineer in me, I haven't done it yet, but I have been wanting to like fuck around and explore. But the engineering in me is like, you need to like understand actually like how to do this, but like writing it yourself. So I'm like, I'll take fucking forever to write like a couple like a program just to like, so I could really understand it.
Yeah, honestly, that's good, because I feel like every time I've started messing around with vibe code projects, like the first few things that the model does, I can understand for the most part. And then after I've put in like 20 or 30 prompts, I've just inherited so much tech debt and I just have no fucking idea what's going on anymore. And I'm like, how does this program even work?
But is it accurate most times when you use it?
I mean, you would have to give it to like a way better engineer than me to be able to tell. I have no idea if it's. I mean, the program works,
Yeah.
but I don't know if it's like doing it the most efficient way. It's probably doing it in the most common way that people do any certain thing, because it's just trained on a ton of code, right? And so like if you have a certain implementation of, I don't know, the way that a program loads and resamples an audio file or something like that, it's probably just looking at like all the most common implementations of that and then just assuming that's probably the best way to do it because that's the way most people do it, which is not always the case.
Yeah, how was your project going?
It's going good. Yeah,
Any updates?
mostly I've just been working on GUI stuff, but yeah, I've been working on extracting audio features from audio files with the end goal of really just understanding the audio features more, and I think there's a lot of implications for figuring out how to extract audio features really accurately from audio files. So, for example, you can extract like the spectral centroid of an audio file, which will, if you look on a linear FFT graph and you see all of the bins that are all different values or whatever on the graph, the spectral centroid would be the point at which you could take an object of mass that has that shape and balance it on your finger, and it would not fall off on either side, like it would just balance on your finger. And then this spectral spread, which is how far around that centroid is like most of the energy propagating. And then this spectral roll-off, which is like from this point down is where 85% of the mass of this FFT shape should live. And it's just a bunch of shit like that. But
What does that tell you?
well, for example, Spotify is able to like, recommend you tracks based on stuff that you've listened to in the past. And the way it figures out which tracks to recommend to you is it extracts a ton of spectral features and a ton of metadata and then looks at it and goes, okay, these numbers, because when you extract a centroid or a roll-off or something like that, it's just a number, right? Like it just spits out a single scalar number like 3,000 or 6,000, which relates to hertz. But then a lot of the numbers are not related to hertz at all. Some of them, like zero crossing rate, it's a rate. It's not measured in hertz. It's just a number from 0 to 1. Or, a bunch of stuff like that. So that's one example of something that you could do with it is run it on tons of audio, extract all of these numbers from the audio so the audio file is represented just in like a ton of numbers, like a big row of numbers. And then you feed that into machine learning models and go like, find me stuff that's similar to this set of numbers. And then the ML does its magic and finds you some stuff. So yeah, there's a bunch of use cases for it, and that's just one of them. But another use case could be if you're producing music on a computer and you're like, oh, I want a kick, or let's say something more abstract, like I want a female vocal that sounds like ethnic, like an Indian female vocal or something like that. Right now, the way to do it would be to just search like Indian female vocal, right? And the results that you get back might be good, or they might be not so good because a lot of the files might just be named like IF V and then a bunch of numbers .wave. So it's not named what you search for. And so extracting features can be good for that too, because then you could make an app kind of like Synonym as an example of this, where you could just say search for stuff similar to this, and then it extracts all the features from that audio file. So that audio file is represented by numbers, and then returns you an audio file that is like the one that you asked it to return.
That's so interesting. So are you using this program to also just organize and help you rename your files, or just to find things disregarding the names?
Not yet. No, right now I'm just trying to vet the numbers that come out of all of these libraries that exist. There's a couple of main libraries that it seems like everyone uses. One of them is called Essentia. Another one's called Labrosa, which is a Python library, and another one is, there's a couple other ones I can't remember the names of, but I'm basically just making a program right now that quickly extracts all of the data from all of my audio files with each of these libraries, and then I have like a GUI where I can compare the values and look at them on a graph and see if they look correct. And what I'm noticing is a lot of the values don't seem correct to me at all, and so I think the end goal here is just going to be like kind of making my own library to do that.
Oh, that's so interesting. So just like even just the act of like extracting this data is like something that's not easy to do, like from these files.
I mean, some of it should be easy, but for some reason, a lot of the numbers are conflicting. Like if I extract a centroid from Essentia and then a centroid from Labrosa, I seem to get like two different numbers. And if I extract a roller from both, I seem to get two different numbers. When there really should be a truth to it. Like you should only ever get one number. Like the centroid of a specific audio file should always be that centroid, no matter how you extract it. But yeah.
Do you think that's like an AI thing, or just the way that they format their files? Those programs like format their files.
I have no idea. I mean, I assume it's just, there's so much shit in the chain, right? So first of all, to like send an audio file into this thing, you have to load it in a standardized sample rate with a standardized bit depth at all of this stuff. So the general consensus for how you load an audio file into one of these programs is that you load it in as 44.1K 32-bit float, 16-bit and mono. And that's like, and the reason you do that is just to standardize it across all audio files. Because if you get an audio file that's like, let's say, a 256 kilobit MP3, and you try to compare that against a 24-bit WAV file, just because of the encoding of that file, they're going to be different. And so like on the way in, you have to standardize all of that by resampling it, and I assume all of these libraries have different methods for resampling the audio to that consistent sample rate and bit depth, and so that's one part that could be making it different. And then also the method in which they use to extract it, like how do they, the FFT, like cutting, FFT is basically like where you take an audio file and you separate it into its bins, being frequencies. So like, let's say you imagine like an EQ that's from 0 to 20 kilohertz or whatever it is. It's just like cutting each band and then averaging them over the length of the audio file. And the way that different programs do this FFT thing could also be different. And then the actual math to calculate the values once you have all of the values from the FFT could also be different. And so, yeah, it's hard to say which part is of the pipeline is different between each program, but I assume it's like little differences at all of the parts. And that's probably why they end up giving different numbers.
That's so interesting. I feel like I've done all the math for this. Like in one class I took, like, what was it? Like digital signal processing. But I actually never understood like how it applied and how like audio engineers like, I don't know, understand it or use it.
So to be clear, I think audio engineers generally would never use this. This is definitely more on like the technical coding side. So
yeah,
an audio engineer would only use it, I think, if they were trying to, for example, in Ableton, when you load an EQ and you can see the spectrum on that EQ when you're making differences. So you can see there's a peak here, all of that stuff. So that's using an FFT to break the input up into like, however many bands and then show you a visualization. So that's another implication of FFTs is just creating like visualizers, like RMS, not RMS meters, but like spectrograms and whatnot.
Yeah, that's super interesting. How important do you think it is for like producers and like people who make music to like understand like the technical side of like producing or like engineering music?
It's not important at all for producing music. Like it makes no difference.
You just have to have good ears, right?
Exactly. And just like understand what a vibe is and how to cultivate said vibe. Yeah, it has like nothing to do. Like all of this technical shit is important if you like trying to get really sciencey about stuff and like verify numbers and all that shit, but that has zero to do with music for sure. It's the equivalent of saying like like how important is it for a dancer to know how like a Boston Dynamics robot works, because those can also dance, right? It's like it's a completely
Yeah.
different thing.
Yeah.
So you said you're studying post-quantum cryptography, is that right?
Yeah, so it's actually what my like senior design project is based on.
Can you explain post-quantum cryptography in like simple terms?
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know what post-quantum cryptography is, it's essentially encryption for like everything that we use. So right now, the encryption that we use, like in our emails, on our phones, is based on this, I guess, algorithm called RSA. And scientists are predicting that this algorithm will be able to be cracked or like be able to be broken through within the next 10, 15 years using quantum computers, which essentially allow people to try like or to run like millions of like possibilities at once. So the NIST, which is like the National Institute of like, I think, Science and Technology or something, it's like an organization that creates standards for technology, essentially, recently had this like competition. I think it was in like 2022. And they basically had like a lot of these like really smart, mostly like math based people, and also engineers and people from all over the world essentially like submit programs and algorithms that can be used in encryption that are like quantum safe. And the NIST had like selected, I think, like four or like three or four of them, top four of them, and recently like standardized them for to be used by like organizations such as like finance or like healthcare and health, anything that deals with like sensitive personal information. Essentially, they want these algorithms to be implemented into their technology so that they're not like later can be hacked. Like this data can be accessed. I'm not sure if that was a good explanation or not.
Yeah, that makes sense. What is RSA?
It's an encryption algorithm.
And that's mostly what's used these days on like most websites and most companies.
Yes.
And it encrypts the actual data itself, or is it just what is it encrypting?
It encrypts, yeah, I would say the data.
Okay. And what is it that quantum computers will bring that makes it crackable?
Like quantum computers are very special and the like different from regular computers in the way that they allow to like test like millions and billions of like possibilities at once. So say I had like a safe pin or a code like with like 4 digits or something, like a lock. Like a quantum computer would be able to test every single possibility of that lock and instantly open it up,
Right.
if that makes sense. But that's also why like human like authentication and verification is really important in this case, because that is really what that's like that's the real encryption right there. Like you need that verification in order for anyone to even like be able to start decrypting or like hacking into whatever server or like application you're using.
So even something like Face ID, like quantum computing would be able to break this by just trying every single face and just showing like the system a billion different faces every second until it finds the one of 8 billion faces on the planet that match the thing to open someone's phone or whatever.
Theoretically, yes, but in reality, no. That's why they have like limitations on like how many times you can type in your passwords
Right. Yeah, let me
until
just
you
try
fuck
a
up and it
billion times.
locks. Yeah.
True. There's like some button combination on your iPhone. I can't remember what it is, but apparently when you go through the TSA at the airport, they're legally allowed to use your biometrics to open your phone if they want, but they're not allowed to use your PIN So there's some button combo that you can press on your phone that I forget, where once you press it, the only thing that will open the phone is your PIN and not your face.
Oh yeah, I don't even use actually like the biometrics on my like personal device, not for any like specific reason, but I would just prefer to like put in my PIN and not have my face. Because what if I'm passed out or something and someone like, you know,
Yeah, true.
wants to get in my phone, start sending crypto or whatever,
True. Have you found learning about all this kind of stuff has made you like generally more paranoid about security
Oh,
stuff?
fuck yeah. It's made me so paranoid. Like, even the smallest things that, like, you wouldn't even, like, are just, like, so unrealistic, like, are just, like, there's just so many possibilities. Like, to be able to, like, understand cryptography, you kind of have to think like a hacker. Like,
Mm.
so yeah, it's made me extremely paranoid and actually has made me think a lot about, like, how much data is actually like how valuable our data is, and like even things like our keystrokes on a computer, like what we're typing in every single day, like all of that can be used to like come
Fingerprint?
up with, yeah, like the keystrokes on your computer, like what you're typing every day, if that were to be logged, that could be used to like determine like your passwords, or like create like a set list of like possibilities of like what your password might be. So it's like little things like that. I'm like, is that something our computer actually keeps track of, or like I don't know, I just am like so curious, like things, even like photos, like how much data like is actually comes with a photo.
Yeah, a ton of metadata and whatnot. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
fingerprinting is wild. There's a lot of browsers that try to like mitigate against that, like LibreWolf, which is like a more secure version of Firefox, and I think Brave to some degree as well. Because like when you say log into, I don't know, Facebook or Instagram or something from just a regular browser, they can tell like what your screen dimensions are, and they can tell like what your audio device is and all of that kind of
Right.
stuff. And if you're on a MacBook, it's just going to be like the standard whatever MacBook resolution is, and core audio, which is like very common. But for someone like me, in my case, I have like a very specific massive screen, and I use this very specific sound card, so it would be like so easy to fingerprint me.
Yeah, you don't mean literal fingerprint, you mean like digital
Like
fingerprint.
a digital fingerprint, yeah, like figuring out who you are just based on like the specs of your machine and like what input device you use for your mic. For example, like when I came onto this website, I had to select like the audio inputs that I was using
Mm-hmm.
on my sound card, and I had to select like the webcam that I was using and all that kind of shit. And all that stuff is data that can be used to digitally fingerprint you and tell who you are. Not that it would be hard to tell who I am. I mean, I'm literally recording myself on a fucking podcast in this website, so
Yeah.
they obviously know who I am. But in
Yeah.
some cases you might not want that. So let's talk about dancing a little bit. So you mentioned you do tooting, which I had to Google. I didn't know what that was, but I learned that it was like some form of finger dancing.
Yeah. Have you
Uh,
tried it before?
No, not really. But how did you get into that kind of
Can
stuff?
Wait, can we get a Mr. Bill demo before I get into it?
Yeah, so what do I do? I just like, it's like got to do with your fingers, and you just do like this kind of shit, and like,
Let's see the flow.
I don't know how to do it. Like, what do I start like this and then just go like,
Come on, let's get some tunnels going.
how do you do a tunnel? What is it? You go like this. All right, you go like, yeah, I'm never gonna figure this out. I don't have the dexterity for this shit.
Okay, so what is tutting? Tutting is like essentially making shapes with your natural body geometry.
Hmm.
And it's all has to do with these 90-degree angles here. So it's essentially making shapes around our body, like taking
Hmm.
advantage of our body's like natural geometry, and essentially just making shapes and getting creative with it as a style of dance. That's what tutting is in my eyes.
And what is it that like, if you see someone tutting, what is it that makes you go like, wow, that person's fucking insane at tutting?
I think for me it has to do with like their angles. Like the angle's got to be sharp. If your angles aren't sharp and they're just floppy, then are you really tutting? But for me, it's also just like personal style and transitions, and I guess how people get down, their musicality, just I guess how you would judge any other dancer. It's like, can they transition? Do they got that flow? Are they hitting all those, drops and whatnot? So.
And you said you also do belly dancing and fire performance?
Yeah.
How did you get into that stuff?
Actually, I got into it through like music and like going to music festivals. So that's kind of what sparked my interest. I actually had seen a Beats Antique show.
Yeah, they have belly dances.
Yeah, I saw Zoe Jakes on stage and I was like, okay, I think that's what I want to do. I want to try it out. So I went home and got to my self-practice, my little YouTube videos, and just started playing around and experimenting. And it helped me create a nice balance in my life where it's like I have a healthy hobby that I like doing, and then I like nerding out any other time.
Fire performance always looks so crazy to me, especially when they like eat the fucking fire and all this kind of shit. It seems dangerous. Have you ever had like any accidents doing that stuff?
No, thankfully I haven't. And I honestly, with the fire eating, I try not to do too much of it because I don't think it's good for your teeth or like your lungs. And I have asthma too. So I just do very basic fire tricks just to like limit the risk. And also, I just feel like performers in general, like, don't get paid enough to be doing like all the things that they're doing. So I like to keep it cool, keep it casual. Yeah, fire performing comes with a lot of risks, and fire is one of those things where it's like it's unpredictable. I think that's what makes it so fun and like so exciting and like exhilarating, but at the same time, it's also like a scary thing too because it's like, okay, like you could potentially just burn this shit down or like,
Yeah, you
something
probably
could
need
happen.
like crazy good insurance to do that stuff, right?
Yeah, I have insurance for it, and it's actually like a two-person job too, because you really do need like to have somebody else who's like trained and knows what to do in case of a fire or accident.
That's good. They're just like standing by with an extinguisher or something.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's like a safety blanket, extinguisher, just they gotta know what to do.
Yeah, that's smart. Do you see a lot of people who don't do that, who just don't have insurance and don't have like a secondary person to put them out, and they're just like winging it and going nuts with the fire?
Totally. Yeah, I see that all the time. And I also think there just aren't really that many resources for people to like learn, like to get like proper safety training and whatnot. But if you even just pull up to your local fire department, they'll give you a good like rundown of the basics of like fire safety and different types of fires and what to do and whatnot. So if you guys want to spend fire, go, to your local station, police department or fire station and go get that training.
Is that what you did? You went to a fire department? Nice. Yeah, that's smart. What is the payment structure for performing like that look like? Because obviously from like a DJ's perspective, it's pretty much all just based on ticket sales. Like if you can bring 500 people to a venue that buy a ticket for $10 each, then you've sort of generated $5,000 worth of revenue, and you can take like whatever amount of however much you agree to take, basically.
Is that like a set payment or like a percentage that you get?
Well, it's usually it depends. Like you can have like back end deals where you work with the promoter and you take a percentage of like how many tickets were sold, or you can take a guarantee up front, and that kind of gets assumed based on like how many tickets you sold last time you were there or something like that. So it's kind of all based off like the economy of ticket sales. But how does that work for performers?
That's actually something that I wish performers had like more of an opportunity to like jump on. I mean, luckily for me, like a lot of the events that I perform at, I like work directly with like the promoters and the events. So I'm able to like get in there and help them like get to their goals and be able to like make money on that. But I think most times for performers, it's, there's this event, you don't know how many people are going or attending unless you like ask or look into it, and they give you like, oh, I want a performance for this amount of time, and then you have like a rate for that. So it's usually like per hour basis, like rate.
Nice. what's your feeling? Well, first of all, like, what is the most people that you've performed for?
Oh, that's hard to say. I performed at Elements Festival last year. I think there were like at least maybe like 10,000 people there.
Damn. And what is your feeling like before performing in front of that many people? Because from my perspective, like, I basically just stand there and look down at my computer the whole time, and maybe like I'll throw a finger gun here and there, but like
You're like,
yeah, I kind of hate like being super physical, moving a lot on stage, which is why I do the AV thing, because I'm just like, look at that.
you never come from behind the DJ booth and just start like
Never.
headbanging.
I've never done that once, and I'll never do that. Well, probably not. We'll see. Yeah, so like,
Um,
what is your feeling in regards to that? Do you get like super nervous or?
yeah, I do get some like anxiety, but it's not like bad anxiety. Like sometimes my hands get a little bit clammy and I'm nervous, and I think with like larger crowds, for some reason, I feel more comfortable with, because like for some reason I just get this feeling like, not everybody's like paying attention or gonna notice me. It's honestly with like more intimate crowds with like brighter lighting, where it's like I know people are gonna be looking in my eyes and looking in my soul and paying attention to everything I do, like when I dance in restaurants and whatnot. That actually makes me a lot more nervous. It's like the smaller intimate crowds.
Yeah, actually, I agree with that. I feel like it's more nerve-wracking to perform for one person than it is to perform for a big group of people, for sure. Yeah, I would agree. I don't know why that is. I guess just because, like, yeah, the intimate crowds, they're just closer and can, like, kind of judge you more, whereas, like, bigger events, like Red Rocks or something like that, it's like you're so far away from most of the people, and you can kind of
Yeah.
hide behind this barrier of space and be like, I'm over here, you're over there.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the Myco Chanel stuff as well. Is it Myco Chanel or is it Myco Channel?
No, it's Michael Chanel.
Nice. So what is that project about?
That project I started in 2022, and I was really interested in like mushroom cultivation. After I'd moved back from Los Angeles, I was working for this vegan restaurant out there, and the people who owned it, they were mushroom cultivators, and they're very spiritual native people. So they would always tell me about like the process of cultivating and how like grounding it is and how spiritual it is, and just like they kind of show me the way. And something that I was really interested about mushroom cultivation was the fact that the mushrooms, like how they grow, is like really interesting. Like the mycelium is like regenerative. So like once you have a single mushroom and you're able to like propagate or like transfer the mycelium onto that a plate, like you're able to continuously like keep making transfers. So it's like essentially like one plate of mycelium could like create millions of plates of mycelium. So that's what really
It's
interested
kind of the
about.
same with plants too, right? Like if you have one
Yeah.
plant that drops seeds, you can grow, in theory, a Hilbert's Hotel amount of plants.
Yeah, but also the interesting thing about mushrooms is like there is no seed. So it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's just like the spores or whatever.
Yeah, but the mycelium is actually like a really special property of mushrooms, because it creates this like underground network of like communication, which is a lot like our technology, right? Or like our internet. So that's what really interested me about mushrooms. And I wanted to like pursue it and try growing my own, just to see like if I'm able to like, like I always wanted my own like sustainable like greenhouse and whatnot. So I started with like gourmet mushrooms and like growing my own lion's mane and reishi, and then I kind of got into like dabbling with like the psychedelics and whatnot, and I learned that's actually a lot easier to cultivate than the other mushrooms, just because they require like very basic like growing materials like cocoa coir. And yeah, essentially just the idea around the project was like I wanted to show people like that they are able to like grow mushrooms from home. especially in a world where it's like we're always looking like for convenience and to just go grab things at the grocery store. Like I wanted to really show people like, you can do this and create your own medicine at home. So
And it was more focused on like edible mushrooms or psychedelic mushrooms?
really both.
Yeah, I had a dude on the podcast recently who works in the mushroom. He does like therapy with people. It's music therapy with people who take mushrooms, and he like will play them a long set, like a 8-hour set of music basically, whilst they're just kind of there enjoying it in the dark or whatever. And yeah, it's interesting. He's also from LA. I think LA seems to have a bit of a mushroom scene.
Yeah, in Chicago, it's still kind of like stigmatized, so I don't really focus on that too much out here. Mostly, primarily just gourmets, but in Los Angeles, I was really, really interested in like psychedelic and psychedelic therapy and like how people are able to use it and also kind of also use it to not substitute, but like wean off like pharmaceuticals using mushrooms.
Yeah, like antidepressants or something like that.
Yeah, and I also knew people who were also using them for pain, and I just realized they're kind of like universal, and also learned that they're not for everybody. So I really just wanted to push like the education around like using mushrooms for therapy. I think especially in like the dance scene and rave culture, it's like everyone's like, let's pop an eighth and head on over to the show. Like, let's have some fun. But it's like, it comes with so many risks and like our minds are so vulnerable. And I think they could be used in a more like safe way, in a way that could like better the stigma and like better the world and whatnot.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way about weed. It's like such a powerful thing that people just take so much of. It's, if I smoke any weed at all, I have like a crazy anxiety attack, whereas somebody else can smoke it and it like cures their anxiety completely. I feel like it's kind of similar with mushroom. Well, really any substance is like one person can take it and it can solve all their problems, and another person can take it and it just creates a shit ton of problems for them.
Yeah. Did you used to smoke like heavily ever or no?
Yeah, when I was like 18 or maybe like 15 through 18, I was smoking weed every day. And then one day it just started giving me panic attacks every time I smoked it. And so I stopped. And now every time I've tried since, it's just instant panic attack. Unless it's like CBD, and which has no like psychoactive components in it or something. And in Atlanta, weed is illegal, but Delta 8, I want to say, or Delta 9, I can't remember which one. One of them is legal. And so they sell like Delta 8 or 9 gummies, whatever one it is here. And every time I've had a friend visit from another state and take one of them, it like wipes them out for an entire day. So
yeah, I do not fuck with
that.
that Delta 8 or Delta 9. And just like, what is it?
Cannabinoids?
Yeah, no, not the cannabinoids, but the compounds. Like they take just certain compounds of the THC and make something totally different. It's just weird to me. And like all of those products have always made me feel like not right. Like starting from like my gut, like just like made me feel either like really sick or like super drowsy or like, but when I smoke like just pure flower, I feel like better.
Yeah. What do you think is the most misunderstood thing about mushrooms?
Misunderstood thing. It's a good question.
Like, what's a common thing that you see people say about in regards to mushrooms that you think is like a widely incorrect thing?
That they're poisonous and that we're not supposed to be consuming them. I think a lot of people, I mean, I've heard that from a lot of people that they're like, oh, actually, our bodies are not supposed to be eating that. It's a toxin for our body. But like, aren't a lot of things in that case kind of toxins for our body that we shouldn't be eating, but that we still consume anyways?
Yeah, I mean, alcohol is like obviously a pretty big toxin. You see people take it all the time and they black out and start vomiting and all sorts of shit. Surely you're not supposed to be doing that if that's the response that it's having.
Yeah. So I think that's a big misconception about mushrooms. Another one could be that they're like mind altering, like in terms of like psychedelics. It's like you're like not in reality when you take them, and like that's just not always the case.
Yeah, that's kind of a thing in regards to all psychedelics, right? Is people who haven't taken them or people that are like super against them think that you take it and you just instantly become a completely different person living in a completely different reality, which is true. But I mean, you also become a completely different person living in a completely different reality after you drink coffee. It's like, my
Yeah.
reality before I have coffee is I'm super tired and I feel like shit. And then after a coffee, I'm like, oh, I feel great. I can do reading all my emails now.
Yeah.
And
It's
so,
like,
yeah.
yeah, people are always like, I need to like mentally prepare for this. But it's like, when are we ever, mentally prepared for like life? Like, you know what I'm saying? I guess it's true. Like, I guess if you're taking psychedelics, you should be like in a mentally good place. But at the same time, I don't think you need to be like super happy or like feeling like super confident and like taking that, like if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
it does make sense. So what excites you the most about the next 5 to 10 years?
In terms of mushrooms or just life?
Just in general.
Life, I'm ready to graduate. I'm ready to get my experience in the field. I'm ready to get my hands dirty. I definitely want to travel and also like learn some new languages and be able to express myself in what I do in different languages. And I'm mostly just excited to like not be tied down to like a certain place or position. I want to get that experience, but again, like I hate the feeling of like I'm stuck here. I have to be here. That's kind of why I just like always end up choosing my art and what I'm doing, because that's what really allows me to like travel and get out of my house. So I'm looking forward to just getting out there and also putting my crew on, my dance crew on, and learning as much as I can from people.
Nice. And what are you hoping to do after you graduate, and what kind of work are you hoping to get into?
Honestly, I want to find like an in-person job. Like I know I studied computer engineering and like all this programming stuff so that I could work remote and do whatever. No, so I want to find a job where I can actually like apply myself. I feel like I've learned so much like concepts and so many algorithms and so much just like information that my brain is like, all right, like I'm ready to use this. Like I want to be able to put everything that I know to the test and be able to apply it. And I really do think it might be in the field of like security, not necessarily cybersecurity, but some type of like creating secure systems, if not finance or something like that. But we'll see.
You're going to
I'm
become
not
a
really,
quant? Do you know about quants?
yeah,
You're going to become a quant?
a quant bro. Yeah, I
Yeah.
might. We'll see.
Nice.
But yeah, there's never really been like a position where it's like, I want to work for Google. I want to be the CEO of this. Like I've never like really like looked at a company or like a position and been like, oh, I want to do that. Otherwise, I probably would be in that position. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, makes sense. Cool. Well, yeah, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. It's good to chat for an hour, and yeah, best of
Yeah,
luck
thanks
with
for
all of
having me.
the.
I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Bye. Have a good day.